So inspired by one of the comments I got, this video is going to focus on what my study schedule looked like for a normal school day, as well as weekends. And this is just to give you a more realistic expectation on how much I studied and what an actual day looked like for me in high school. And the time frames that I'm about to show you are quite flexible. It's purely just to show you what I aim to do by a certain time. So let's first look at what my school day looked like. So I would usually wake up at around 6:30 and it would take me about 45 minutes to get ready. And I didn't study or do anything productive in the morning. I think I tried for a couple of weeks, but I felt like I was quite tired in the morning, and that's why I didn't really continue that habit in high school. And then it would take me an hour to get to school, so 7:15 to 8:15. And since it did take quite a long time, what I would usually do is if I had like a SAC or a test coming up, I would do some revision on the train. And that's nothing like too hardcore or serious. It was kind of like just looking over notes or jotting down some ideas for essay writing, things like that. And then school went from 8:30 to 3:30, and I didn't do any homework or revision during school times, unless A, the teacher gave us time to go over these materials in class, and B, if I had a SAC or test coming up, like next period. But my point here is, as long as you're efficient with your time, there's not much need to overstudy during school times. And then after school, it would take me an hour to get back. And after I get home, which is about 4:30, I'll be quite tired, so usually I rest for a bit. And I think it's just important to note that if I was planning to study later on, then the only thing I would avoid are things like being on your phone, watching movies, all of that. Because I think we all know what the feeling of doing work is like after watching a movie. So after this rest period, then I would begin my first long study session. And times might vary, but I try to study for around 60 to 90 minutes for each session. And I would try to always have this study session, maybe not at this time, but somewhere in my afternoon. And this is regardless of how busy I was, because I felt like it's important to be consistent. Even if you don't study for that long overall, if you're doing that each day, then that compounds over the semester. And then after that, I would take a longer rest period, exercise, have dinner, all of that. And then following this, there are 2 optional study sessions. So for me, 7 to 8 and 8 to 9. And I only studied during these blocks if I was quite busy. So like I mentioned before, if I have a lot of SACs or tests coming up, then I would use these blocks. But for whatever reason, like if the semester has just started and I'm not that busy, then I usually wouldn't study during these times and I'll just relax. And then after 9, it doesn't really matter what you do, but I tried to sleep before 10:30 because I needed to wake up early and catch the train the next day. And just as a side note, I know a lot of us have extracurricular commitments, so feel free to mix up the order of your own schedule. And for me, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I used to have sport training, so I would get home quite late at around 5 to 6. And if that's the case, I usually just have one study block in the evening sometime. Again, all these times are quite flexible, so just adjust it to what your schedule is like. And for my schedule during weekends, I'm not going to list out every single time frame since it can vary a lot because we're all doing different things. But generally, I would have 3 main study blocks, and I would try and use at least one of them. So 8:30 to 10:30, 10:30 to 12:30, or 5:30 to 6:30. And I felt like these 3 times were when I was the most focused and motivated. But again, try and find what time suit you. And same logic as before, if I wasn't too busy, then I might just use one of these study sessions. And if I had a lot of tests, then the opposite is true. Then I might use 2 or maybe 3 if I was pushing it. But basically, I like to get the hard tasks done early on. So if I had to write an essay, I would probably do that in the morning as opposed to the afternoon where I might be more tired. But again, that comes down to personal preference. And final tip, consistency is crucial, regardless of what study schedule you follow. Because you don't need to follow these strict timelines and timeframes for every single part of your day. This should just be what your ideal day looks like, and try and get as close to that as possible. For the more days, the better. So that's it. Hope you found that helpful, and take care.